Okay, welcome again. My name is Ijama Uche, and we have this topic. It is somehow nagging, but we're going to talk about it. It is justice delayed, justice denied. And then monitoring awaiting trial cases in prisons. This is what we are going to look at today. You have always heard that phrase, justice delayed is justice denied. We're going to find out what that means today. But this is a special edition of Good Morning Anambra. The edition of Good Morning Anambra is dedicated to assisting justice, understanding your legal rights, brought to you by Justice Development and Peace Caritas, JDPC, Onitsha, sponsored by the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption, that's ROLAC, with support from International IDEA. That is exactly what we are cut out for this morning, and I have a guest that has joined me to do that. He is Dr. Barrister Rapolo Ernest Ndoka. He is Deputy Head of Chambers, J.R. Ndoka, SAN, and Partners.
Thank you.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you in our studios.
Thank you so much.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
I think I've seen you before now.
Thank you, yes.
Better and better.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Now please tell us, what is this all about? Justice delayed is justice denied.
Okay, well, it's a cliche, that we normally use. But the bottom line is that one aspect or one integral aspect of justice is not just getting to the end of justice, but also making sure that we get there as fast as we can get there. Now, the reality is that you don't sacrifice justice on the altar of speed. But then
speed?
You don't sacrifice justice on the altar of speed.
Okay.
But when the whole process takes so much time for us to get there, a lot of things may have happened. Now, it becomes much more serious when you talk about the criminal aspects. Now, maybe in the civil aspects, it could be taken, for example, when it is a civil dispute. Let's say, for example, a person dies while the matter is going on. Another person can be substituted. For example, maybe it has to do with an estate, it has to do with funds. Somebody else can come in who is alive and continue the litigation to whenever we're getting to. But when it comes to the issues of crime, most times crime is personal, apart from maybe one that is committed by a corporation. So when the process takes a very long time for us to get to the end of it, somebody's life can be destroyed. So imagine if we had a situation where, we've had several stories about people who were innocent, and never committed a crime, and maybe it took about 30 years for the person to be exonerated. The person's life can be messed up. Okay, imagine somebody wasting 30 years of his life, maybe in prison, for example.
Maybe for an offense
he never committed.
Even if he has committed, maybe an offense that is supposed to take 4, 5, 6 years. Imprisonment.
Exactly. So, and when we have several cases of that, we have people keep reporting that maybe they're walking on the street and somebody just takes them into a vehicle, and from there they're slammed with one massive crime or offense, and from there they get into the prisons, and sometimes they get forgotten in the prison. So they actually, narrowing down the discussion really this morning, we're talking about a waiting trial, and it's actually the criminal aspect that we are dealing with this morning. Now, one of the things that over time, prior to this current dispensation, we've had situations where people are forgotten because maybe because of the way the procedure is actually being done. Now, I think in 2015, the Jonathan administration came up with the Administration of Criminal Justice Act in 2015. Now, that act beautifully has now been domesticated by most states.
Wow.
And Anambra State now has the Administration of Criminal Justice Law operating in Anambra State. The act was enacted in 2015. the law was enacted, it was domesticated in Anambra State in 2022. So the beautiful thing about it is that it has been domesticated. We have the act for the federal, we have the domesticated one for Anambra State. Now the essence of this law is to make sure that there are speedy dispensation of justice, that the trial procedures are done faster, and so that there will be a reduction in delays of through the justice system, especially because the human being is involved in this one. It's normally personal. Some people's rights may be violated because of this, the prolonged incarceration and everything. And people keep reporting that most of the times people are forgotten there. In fact, if not for maybe different NGOs like the Justice Development and Peace Caritas and several other NGOs that maybe go into the prisons, churches.
To ask questions.
Yes, I know about churches too. And judiciary too, periodically go there to ask questions about those who are inmates there. A lot of people will have been forgotten, and maybe get to die there because maybe nobody knows they don't have a relation that keep talking about them and keep asking, where are these people? So the system or the law has now created some kind of reporting system that keeps this whole thing in check, so that somebody doesn't get into the system, gets forgotten there, and maybe dies there. And that is actually one of the things, that the ACJA, I'll just be paraphrasing. ACJA is the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Then the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of Anambra State has tried to sort out. Now, one of the first, when you deal with the correctional systems, because when you talk about witching trial, most of the times, the person is now in prison. Okay, and we'll call it correctional centers right now because it's been changed. Okay, so one of the things that the law envisages, that's one central thing in monitoring this whole, if whatever happens, maybe with somebody who is a suspect and who is in custody. The law envisages that the Controller General of Prisons will be sending a periodic report every 90 days, every 90 days to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Chief Judge of the Federation, Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, the Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, and then the Chief Judge of a state. Now, definitely, what that simply means is that now, when it comes to the Chief Judge of the state, the returns or the report should actually be for the prisons that are within the jurisdiction of that chief judge. So, for example, in Anambra State, for example, all the prisons within Anambra State are meant to collect reports and, returns, as you would call it, and send it to the chief judge so that the chief judge, it's part of the monitoring scheme that's been put in place so that somebody doesn't get missing. Now, all this, the idea behind it is that the person's names of people who are within the facility, what charges that they have, and several other things should be part of it, so that they would be monitoring what actually happens there. Now, the essence of that person's awaiting trial is that for anybody who has been there for a period beyond 180 days. Okay,
but before you get to the essence, let's look at the application of this law, having been domesticated in Anambra State. How will you assess the application? Would you say it's actually working?
Well, the reality is this. One of the things that, as a legal practitioner, I know is that the Chief Judge of the state and the judiciary does a periodic visit to the prisons. And I know that part of it is that they get these reports. And when they get these reports, they do some periodic visits. Now, when they do this prison visit, what we call a prison visit, when they do this prison visit, the idea is that all the suspects are brought before them. They look at each case by case. And those who are deserving of maybe bail, for example, are given bail. Now, when they go for this prison visit, is it one they call prerogative of mercy? No, prerogative of mercy is quite different. Prerogative of mercy comes in when a person has been found guilty and has been sentenced.
Okay.
So the person is given a sentence, then there could be prerogative of mercy because there's a sentence already. But in this case now, the prison visits, the idea behind it is that all the judges and magistrates within a jurisdiction that maybe they have people within that facility that come to their courts, you know.
Okay.
They now go to the prison, they bring out their files, they look at it, they go through, you know, case by case.
Is it based on reports that has, because you said there's periodic reports to this?
Exactly.
Okay, and then how often do they go for this visit? How many times a year?
Well, it all depends on, I think it depends on the convenience, because I know that most of the time, at least 3 times a year. It could be less than that, depending on how they want to run it. I can't really determine that, okay, because I don't think there's no stipulation really for when the prison visits will be done. The stipulation is for the periodic, the law envisages the periodic reports for those who have stayed beyond 180 days. For those who have stayed beyond 180 days, you know, to be sent to them. So there's no stipulation of the law when the prison visit should be done. So it's a periodic thing that is done, you know, as maybe at their convenience and everything. But the bottom line is that once they get to the place, they deal with the issue case by case.
Okay.
Those who are deserving of bail, for example, they're granted bail immediately. And from practical experience, I know that the magistrates and judges come with their files. So those who are, sometimes maybe, let's say, for example, the bail condition has been a little bit stringent. It could be amended, you know, there and then, because the chief judge will be there. So we can amend it immediately.
Have we had anything like that?
No, several. Yes, it's normal. It's normal.
All right.
And yes, so that way we keep a tab on what goes on in the place. In fact, it's actually this stipulation of the Administrative Criminal Justice Act is actually a little bit of an offshoot of the reporting system that is expected of every holding detention centers. They're also expected to be sending reports to the magistrates that are within that jurisdiction. So, for example, there's a magistrate.
They're expected to. Do they do that?
Well, that's the one I can't really say, because we've been clamoring for that. Now, actually, one of the essence, I believe, of this discussion is that we keep calling out and saying, can we do the right thing? Now, the law, the Administrative Criminal Justice Act, expects the periodic visits. Now, so apart from the reports that are sent by the detention centers to the magistrates, that these are the persons who are here, there's also the expectation of the law that the magistrates, for example, also visit these detention centers to see for themselves. Okay. Now, I will tell you the truth. You know, I'm not a government lawyer, so I can say that I've also been at the bar, been a leader at the bar. The truth of the matter is that we've also noticed that there are several times that, in fact, there was a report that we had at some point where a magistrate was actually rough-handled in a particular police station. So the bar had to cry out. You know, these people are doing their job. Now, we've also had reports where.
You know, I was going to ask you the relationship between the bar and the police, because this is what you do together, and then how do I even put it? Okay, and then if this relationship is not existing, it's not cordial, how do you achieve your intention of making sure that anybody that is held at the centers, at the correctional centers, it's not, his right is not being violated in any way?
Well, you know, the reality is this. It's when we talk about these things, the bottom line is to have a wake-up call that everybody should sit up and monitor someone. I think there was a discussion I was having some time ago, and somebody was asking me, so who monitors the monitor? The bottom line is this. The Administrative Criminal Justice Act and the Administrative Criminal Justice Law provides for a monitoring committee. So there should be a monitoring committee. Now, apart from that, too, the bar has a duty to also ensure that the right things are being done by speaking about it, by prodding those who are supposed to do the inspections and all the stuff to do the inspection.
Well, a situation where justice was mishandled.
Well,
what did the bar do?
Well, the bar rose up. I don't know how eventually resolved that, because it happened in Lagos State.
Oh, really?
But the bar rose up. The bar spoke about it, because you see, my fear And I may not want to say every single thing that I know when it comes to some of these things. But you see, my fear is that let us not get to a point in our lives as Nigerians where we become so complacent that we don't want to bother again. Because the system has so beaten us down that everybody else feels, don't bother yourself. Nothing will come out of this thing.
Nothing will come out of this.
You know,
That's just my fear too.
That is the problem.
It becomes a situation whereby you just live hopelessly and aimlessly. Whatever comes, let's take it. That is our fate. Yeah, but it's a horrible way to live.
It is a very horrible way to live. But you see, at the end of the whole day, it does nobody any good. Because all we end up doing is just to keep complaining. And after complaining, we just sit down and just say, well, it's one of those things, and we leave everything for God. And
what do you suggest to do in a situation like that? What do you suggest to do, apart from what we're doing now, speaking out or whatever? What do you suggest we do to make sure that we don't get to that kind of situation whereby anything that comes, it's okay, it's normal?
Well, the bottom line is this. Number one, the awareness should be there. We should keep creating the awareness. That's number one. We should also make sure that people understand, and that's one of the reasons why we come on air to sometimes talk about this, that people understand their rights. Sometimes you may need to keep talking about something and don't allow it to just go by, pass you by. Like I said, let us never get to that place where we become complacent. I'm sorry, maybe I'll just say this. I know that I had some radio engagement at some point where I talked about police arrest and everything. And one of the things that keep coming up at all times is that people just say, oh boy, well, somebody says, senior man, forget this thing when they talk. And just they talk this thing. In practice, it's not that way. But one of the things I also pointed out to them is that in some jurisdictions, these things will not be happening because they keep talking about it. They keep pushing. They keep insisting on the right thing to be done. And in fact, there was an incident that happened to me yesterday on the road, and I walked up to it was an army checkpoint, sort of, and I walked up to it, I said, how would you do that? And so when I started talking, the Oga saw me and came out, and he kept apologizing that this is not what, that this is wrong and everything. So the reality is that, we keep talking about it, and we keep demanding that every institution, every individual that has a duty should sit up to his duty. It is not
alive to their responsibilities.
It's not enough for us to take up positions. Every single thing comes up with responsibility.
Honestly, most times I argue, you kill people, you spend money, you do a whole lot of things to get to a position. And once you get there, you don't even know what to do with it.
Exactly.
So why there in the first place? Why do you even want to go in the first place when you don't have anything to offer? That is what we are suffering here. A lot of people, you want to get into the security agencies. I don't know what you have in mind. And you get there, you are called upon for your job. You say, no, I don't have this, I don't have that. What did you even go to do? I think there's a place in the scripture where Jesus was asking, what did you even go out to the desert to look for? What were you looking for, if not to see this and that? Why were you surprised at what you saw in the desert is exactly what you're supposed to see there? Were you looking for a king that is robed or whatever? You know, kind of a thing.
So one of the things that, when you were asking me about what do we do? Like I said, the bottom line is this: every person, in line with the law, live up to your responsibility. The police and security agencies live up to your responsibility. The magistrates, for example, who have a duty to go about inspecting this place, live up to your duty. The bar, for example, which I'm part of. I was the National Public Secretary at some point, at the bar. So definitely live up to your own responsibility, because at the end of the whole day, if everybody does what he should do within his, the ambit of the law, things will be right. But if we keep living it, because the problem I have, and the problem I've seen most of the time, is that we end up blaming every other person. This person blames the other person person blames the other person, and nobody takes responsibility. And they call it blame game. Everybody. If you push it to me, I push it to you, that kind of a thing. And so we keep doing the wrong thing. And the bottom line is this, and that's where the problem lies in. When we keep thinking, and that's one Nigerian problem, everybody is trying to push himself to a place where he is above the troubles of Nigeria. So for example, you make a little bit of money. All you need to do to run away from police nonsense, you get VIP police protection. you get Mopo to always ride with you whenever you're going to some places. It saves you some trouble. But you see, everybody who participates in making a system not to work well can be a victim of that system tomorrow. And nobody is sure whether he'll be at the receiving end of that same system that he helped entrench because it was benefiting him at some point. I've had maybe some security people who are security agents before being a victim of the same system that they created, which was working for them, and they were making whatever from it, and today they are victims
and
of
enjoyed.
it. Exactly.
And now it's against them.
And the battle about creating wrong systems and not doing the things right is that as you add an evil today, you're not sure what another person will add to that evil, because the first evil becomes normal. The person shifts the goalpost, makes it worse than what it used to be. And it keeps getting bad to a point that the person who created it in the first place will wonder, how did we even get to this place? This was not what I said. But we're there.
Like what happened in the school course and the whole lot of
exactly.
things. You just wanted to be relevant in the system. And before you know it, you know that you have created a monster.
Exactly.
That will consume even you tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. Well, I'm sorry I had to digress a bit because when you catch a big fish, you cut, enough flesh. Now that we're here, some people say, analysts probably say that the problem of Nigeria is the judiciary. That if judiciary is doing what they ought to do, like how they places the hope of the common man, that we wouldn't get where we are today. Okay, if you had played the role of an arm of a government and a separate independent arm of a government, not playing the second fiddle to anybody, the executive or the legislature, that you would have been able to salvage this nation, because that's what you stand for. The judiciary, the last hope of the common man. When you guys mess up in the National Assemblies, when the executives turn things upside down, you come here, I will tell you that this is not what it's supposed to be. No, this is not what the law says. But these days, it's the judiciary that is, thwarting the whole thing and not giving us exactly what we expect from them. What do we do?
Well, I must confess that it's a very dicey area. And dicey because it is easy to call out people and say you're not doing the right thing. But you see, the reality is this. The judiciary, for example, I don't want to talk about so much about it because I'm not a part of the judiciary. I'm just a lawyer. But the reality is this. The judiciary and everyone in Nigeria is a part of the Nigerian society. There's so much that the society can be corrupt and be messed up, and just an arm will still be very alive and well-fed, doing the right thing at all times. One of the worst things that has happened to the judiciary, and bringing all these complaints that we talk about, is the politicians. I would say this without any. One of the. No, it's obvious. It's obvious. One of the breaking aspects of the judiciary in Nigeria happened when the Chief Justice of Nigeria was removed by an ex parte order. Sadly, even Nigerian lawyers got divided along
an ex parte order from the court that the guy is, supervising, is heading.
So it's a very, and it was a sad incursion.
So it's like just stabbing yourself.
It was a sad incursion because the executive pushed so hard, decimated them, and got in, and we moved on as if nothing has happened.
And you allow the executive to push you so hard.
That's one of the problems that
not knowing that you should be the one pushing the executive and not the other way around.
You see, that's where the problem now lies in, because the problem is this. The society at the end of the whole day, still we are a reflection of the society. Now, when those things happened, the natural thing is that people should stand up and speak up and fight and do everything. But at the end of the whole day, people were divided, especially along ethnic lines, along what they would get, along party lines, without standing on principles. The rules were there already. This is where a judge will be removed. But over time, At that time, judges' houses were broken into in the dead of the night. A lot of things happened. And we talked about it as if it was just normal. People even praised whatever happened. I was shocked. People praised it. People said, this is how to fight corruption. These guys are terrible, this one. But there's a clear procedure on how to get to the end of this whole thing.
That was how they broke
we spoiled everything. And that's where the reality is that nobody can be absolved of any blame. Because all of us we are not blameless in the whole thing. For example, I remember that NBA called for a boycott. While some portions or some part of NBA in Nigeria boycotted the court, some did not boycott. In fact, some said we must be going to court because they felt that it would benefit their own people. And it's a problem for us. You see, at the end of the whole day, these politicians understand the fact that all you need to do is to play some card.
Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you so much.
The great son of a great man.
Thank you so much.
I watched you grow up, and I'm so happy what the man you have become.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and that's how it's been this morning. My name is Tijama. God keeping us. We'll be here to celebrate Christmas with you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.